that will be 600 units of pens are supplied by the A, B, and C, three different companies. Now it is separate companies, right? So quantity supplied by individual companies on the left hand side, quantity supplied by the group of companies, maybe three companies which are producing pen here. There can be more companies, 5, 6, 7, 8, but here it is an example of the three companies. So as another example, you can see here in the same way, if the prices are 8 rupee, A company is supplying 300, B company is supplying 400, and C company is supplying 500. So if you add all these things, it will make the market supplied by the three company. That will be the market supplied. That is 1,200 pens are supplied into the market. So it is having a very simple meaning, which can be easily understood by all of you. So when we draw a diagram of supply, this is a blank sheet deliberately kept by me. When we draw a diagram, that how does it look like? The supply curve, how does it should look like, right? So as I said, in economics, the axis plays a very important role. So y-axis here is the price, and the x-axis is here is the quantity. Now we are talking about supply. We are not talking about the demand. We are talking about the SUPPLY, supply of the commodity into the market. So at a lesser price, lesser quantity will be supplied. At a higher price, more quantity will be supplied. More price, more quantity will be supplied. So at this price, you can see first, second, and third, these 3 points I have made. I joined all these 3 points. This curve which I get is known as the supply curve. Whereas when I used to make the, if you remember, when we used to make the demand curve, the axes are same, my dear friends. Price is the y-axis and the quantity is on the x-axis. Axes are same. But what do you observe? At the higher prices, the lower quantity are being supplied, are being demanded. Sorry, because we are talking about demand here in this curve. DEMAND. We are talking about the demand here. So at the lower prices, more quantities, and even lower prices, more quantities. So if I join all these 3 points, I get a curve which is downward sloping. So this is the demand curve and this is the supply curve. Supply curve is upward sloping, remember, because it is representing the firm, that how much material firm is ready to supply at a certain price. And firm would love to supply more product at the higher price. If I ask a simple question to you that, okay, there are 2 options in front of you, A, B, C. If you make A product, its price is 10 rupees. If you make B product, its price is 20 rupees into the market, and cost of manufacturing maybe of the both products are almost same. Which business you will go for? Of course, you will go for the business B, because you can see the high prices are there and the cost of manufacturing is less. That means the profit margins are very high. So the firm supply, you can see it is upward sloping, and the demand, which is a phenomenon which works from the customer's point of view, it is downward sloping. It's very simple. Till this point, there should not be any doubt to any of my learner. It is very easy so far. Now, the manner, if you remember, in the last few classes, we learned about the factors which put an impact onto the demand. So, say the price of the product itself, price of its complementary and substitute products, population, right, income of a society, advertisement. Those were the factors which put an impact onto the quantity demanded into the market. In the similar manner, there are certain factors which put an impact onto the quantity supplied into the market. So we can see here the determinants of the supply, or we can say how many factors, invariably factors or determinant, one and the same thing you can take, which put an impact onto the supply of the product. Say, let's talk about the war. Just recently, there was a war between America and the Iran, and because of which Hormuz was the point of attraction, because of which the supply of the crude oil was cut down. Ships were not able to pass by from the strait, Hormuz Strait, so the supply of the crude oil was cut down, right? So why it has happened? It has happened because of war. It has happened because of war. And why war was there? Because of the government policy. So you can see sometimes because of the government policies, the supply of certain commodity put an impact. There can be the many other examples, right? Government want to discourage the chemical plant to protect the environment. So again, it will reduce the supply of the chemical. Government want to encourage the solar panel. So again, they will give subsidy to the solar panel. So again, the supply of the solar panel will increase. Natural factors can also be the reason behind the supply of certain product. If the natural factors are supporting, if the climate is supporting, if the climate is good, then there will be more yield into the field. People will grow more, say, edible items, say cotton, maybe another product, agricultural product, which the farmers can grow. And with the higher growth of the cotton into the field, there will be the more supply of the cotton clothes into the market, right? So the natural factors are also responsible for the supply of the product. You can say the number of sellers. The more the number of sellers, the more will be the supply of the product. You can say the price of the related item. Very interesting. The price of the related item and the supply has a very interesting relationship. So there are 2 kinds of related items. 2 products which are competitors of each other, that means the substitute product, and 2 products which are complement of each other, one cannot live without another. So if we say supply of one competitor, say Pepsi and Coke, if there are 2 products, say Pepsi, if because of any reason supply of Pepsi goes down, Pepsi is there, its supply goes down because of any reason, I don't know, whatever can be, just assume its supply goes down, so supply is going down. So what people will do? People will start consuming Coke more because they have ensured the supply of the product. Its supply will, maybe the people will demand it more, so maybe the supply of its competitor product may be increasing. But on the other hand, in the case of complementary product, the other way around thing you see, say for example, if you talk about the car and petrol, if the supply of the petrol increases, that means it will make the petrol relatively cheaper into the market. The people will produce, but may be able to purchase more petrol easily. They can purchase it, so there may be the increase in the demand of the petrol car. In the same way, cost of production put an impact onto the supply. Higher the cost of production, generally lower is the supply of the product. So if cost of production of labor charges may be high, maybe the price of the raw material is very high, electricity is very high. So of course, the entrepreneur will produce less. They will be able to produce less, and therefore the supply of the product will be less. On the other hand, if the cost of production is cheaper, they will be able to produce more, right? change in the techniques of production. Better the technology, higher will be the supply. Poorer the technology, the lesser will be the supply. So these are the factors which put an impact onto the supply of the product. I hope these are again very easy, so you have understood those. After this, after a few more slides, I will take the question and answers. Don't worry. So now the next thing is that the law of supply. The manner in which we studied the law of demand, in the same manner we should understand the law of supply. Law of supply states that if the prices increases, the quantity supplied into the market by the various firm also increases, and supply curve is basically upward sloping, right? Subject to all other factors which put an impact onto the demand are constant, put an impact onto the supply are constant. So in the recent slide, we have seen certain factors are there which were putting an impact onto the supply. If I assume that all other factors are constant and only there is a movement of the price into the market, then I can say with the increase into the price, more and more firms would like to supply their product into the market to get that advantage of the increased price, right? So at the higher prices, the more product will be supplied, subject to all other factors should be constant. Now here you see one thing, S is equal to FP. Now that is nothing but whatever I told you. It is a mathematical expression of that. What does it mean? It means that supply depend upon the price. And or I can say supply is majorly a function of price. In easy language, you can say supply depend upon the price. So supply is an independent variable. Supply is a dependent variable, DP. Supply is dependent variable and price is the independent variable, IV here. So it means that. However, supply depends on many other factors like the technology, we have seen the other factors also, like the time period. There are other factors on which supply depends. So supply, if I want to increase it, I can write down supply depends on comma, price, other factors, price, other products price, maybe the cost of production also. But here, since we are talking about the law of supply, so we will be only talking about the price. Subject to all other factors will remain constant, right? So the other things which would remain constant are as follows, like the number of firm, availability of the other inputs, cost of production, market price of the related product, climate and weather. If I consider all these things are factors, then increase into the prices will lead to the more supply of the product into the market, and supply curve S is equal to, it is a function of the price, and you can see it is also an upward curve. So it is very simple to understand, right? Now, the manner in which we have studied, there are certain exceptions to the demand. In the similar manner, there are certain exceptions to the supply. That means supply curve will not work the way it should work ideally. That means the prices are increasing, the supply increases. But there are certain cases where it doesn't happen. Say, for example, if certain goods are rare in nature. If they are rare in nature, if they are less in nature, so no matter how much prices you increase, there will be limited supply of that product. Some agricultural product and perishable product are also showing the same kind of phenomenon. Perishable products like vegetables, fresh fruits, they cannot be stored for a longer time duration. Milk related items. So why? Because in short run, their supply is always fixed. Even into the long run, their supply is fixed. So if I write down price here, if I write down quantity here, and if I talk about the perishable products, their supply is usually fixed. Right? Say, I'll give you a funny example. Say someday I went to the market, and on that day it was Mahashivratri. I wanted to purchase milk into the evening time. There was no milk into the market in the evening time. I asked why. Usually daily I get the milk. Today I am not able to get it. Why? No, sir, today is Mahashivratri. So many of the people, even those who do not consume the milk, they have purchased it. But I asked a stupid question from the shopkeeper. I said, okay, why can't you store the milk? Sir, we cannot store the milk beyond 1 day. Right? So why? Because milk is a perishable product. So perishable product, in 1 day, the buffalo, the cows will not start giving more milk, right? You cannot increase their demand within a night, right? Their supply within a night. So therefore, perishable good supply is fixed, especially into the short run. However, in long run, their supply can change, but not significantly. Similarly, in agricultural product, you can see, right? So these are the exceptions to the law of supply: agricultural product, perishable product, or rare good items. Now, there are certain phenomena. That is the movement of supply curve. But before I go ahead on to the movement of the supply curve, I would like to take questions if there is any. So I'm going on to the chat box first, and let me see if there is any question, any doubt which is there, and I'll be most happy to sort it out. I don't think there is no question into the chat box as of now. So I request the moderator, please transfer the related questions into the chat box so that I can reply. Okay, somebody saying I'm going so fast. I can't do anything here. You have to listen to me in that manner only, because the chapter is big and I need to complete the syllabus. Yeah, for example, there are a few questions I'll take. Say somebody has asked, I'll help them. Don't worry. Okay, somebody has asked, like Kalal has asked a question that what is the correlation between demand and supply? Demand curve is downward sloping because it shares inverse relationship with the price. Higher price, lesser demand. Supply curve is upward sloping because it shares the direct relationship with the price. Higher the prices, higher the supply. Supply is more or less maneuvered by the seller or the firm or the producer, and demands are created by the consumer. And then what is market equilibrium? I will finish it. Chanchal, I will finish it. Don't worry. I have not yet come to that topic of the market equilibrium. I'll tell you. I think, sir, got it. Okay. No, writing pad. Okay, I can understand that. I'll take care of that next time. I'll get some writing pad. Good afternoon, sir. Okay, sir, voice is not proper in between. Maybe, I think I'm audible. Video is visible to all of them. Market equilibrium I have yet to cover. Don't worry. So there is not significant related question. Can someone help me? Where can I get the recordings and all these things? Okay, so there is no significant question related to the supply. Perfect. But okay, that means we are on to the right space and everything is going fine. Now, my dear friends, let's study the next topic now, which is very interesting, and I'll be now a bit slow because somebody has said I should slow down. So I'm slowing down myself because I was waiting for more tricky topics where I can spend the more time. When we talk about the movement into the supply, my dear friends, there are two kinds of movements. Number one, movement along the supply curve. Number two, shift into the supply curve. And they're very simple. They're very simple to understand. Movement along the supply curve is only because of change in price. So on the y-axis price and on the x-axis is quantity. On the left hand side, you see the movement along the supply curve. I will draw one curve for you also. So price and the quantity, if the price is here and the quantity is here, and if you see what will be the shape of the supply curve, it will be upward sloping always. Now, if the price increases, the supply increases. If the price decreases, supply decreases. So that means here you can see this phenomenon is the movement into the supply curve. Price increases, supply increases, right? And what if the price decreases? Of course, price decreases, supply also decreases. So earlier the arrow was upward, now the arrow is downward. What do you see? You see the movement into the supply curve. The same thing is represented here. The same thing is there. Till here to here, they are showing that the prices are increasing. From this point to this point, they are showing the prices are increasing. So movement is happening along the supply curve. The prices are increasing, so supply is increasing. But there was a time when the prices has reduced also from here to here. So you can see the decrease into the supply. So whatever movement is there, it is onto the same curve. When we talk about movement along the supply curve, it is on the same curve. The curve has not changed. The curve is same, but only the price has changed. So why it is so? It is so because of change in price, right? But the price is not only the factors because of which the supply changes. There are many other factors because of which supply changes, like technology advancement. Suddenly new technology has come, supply has increased, right? Like certain natural calamity has come, supply has gone down, irrespective of the fact that the price is fixed. So when there is no change into the price, but there is change in some other factors, we call it shift into the supply curve. So here you can see in the red color, main center point, you can see it is a core supply point. Say for example, if the technology increases, so you see there is positive increase into the supply. The supply curve has shifted to the right side. Supply has increased. Supply has increased, right? Because there of technological advancement is there. Maybe because of natural calamity or any other reason, the supply has goes down. So negative supply curve. So this has goes to the left hand side. So when there is a shift into the supply curve towards the left hand side, supply goes down. When there is a shift into the supply curve towards the right hand side, it is known as the supply increment. Shift into the supply is because of all other factors except the change in price. Prices are constant and stable, but other things are changing. I hope these two diagrams are clear to you. Any doubt? Any doubt? I hope these two diagrams are clear to you. If there is any doubt, I am again going to the chat box. Is there any question? I can't see any question. Okay, with an increase in price demand low, then we raise the supply. How it could be beneficial to the company? Okay, my dear friend, Kalal Bhupesh, I'm telling you, with the increase into the price, demand goes no, sir. With the increase into the price, demand doesn't go down. Sometimes, why there is an increase into the price? You tell me why, when, and why there is an increase into the price. Increase into the price is there when people demand the product more. Say, if there is a demand of 100 products into the market, but the company or everybody else is supplying only 40 products. So what will happen? Only 40% of the people will get the product, rest of the 60% people will not get the product. Because there is more demand, but there is less supply. So what will happen? Listen to me very carefully. This question कई बार आता है classes में. Then what will happen? The companies will increase the price because they want to get more traffic. They know that still 60% of the people are not able to purchase my product. Let's increase the price. When they increase the price, perhaps when they increase the price, what will happen? Per unit margin of the profit will increase. And this is a phenomenon. And when the other companies see, okay, in this business, there is huge profit. There is a huge demand of the product, but companies are not able to supply. Like right now, Nvidia. Nvidia is a company which is producing the chip, and it has grown multiple times since the commencement of the AI-enabled technology. So what is happening? Nvidia is increasing the price of its chip. Now what will happen? When the other company will see, okay, chip manufacturing is a profitable business because they are getting whatever they want, they will also jump into. This is a process, my dear friend. This is not a one-day phenomenon. So they will jump into the business. When they will jump into the business, they will also manufacture the chip and they will start supplying. And gradually, the supply will become equal to the demand. And if there is now more supply, the prices will go down. So it is a phenomenon. It is not ultimately one single thing. I hope, Bhupesh, you have understood this. If supply increases, that due to too much supply, price should come down. Please explain. That is what I said. If supply increases, up to what point? Up to a certain point. If supply increases, then yes, this mechanism will work. Very correct, Samir. Right? So if the supply increases beyond the demand, then automatically the prices will go down. So it is a process. It is not a one-time activity. I hope you are getting it. Any other question? Sir, we can say due to price increase of a product in the market, supply will decrease. Price increase, no, madam, Monica, 10 times I have told you. We can say the price increase of a product market, the supply will increase. Do we have any example related to it? Yes, I am giving you the example. The example is, say, if Monica is having a field, say for example, in which she can grow oranges and she can grow mango. She is growing oranges and she finds that the price of the orange is 20 rupees per kg. But the person who is growing the mango in the same field or maybe the apple into the same field, they are getting 100 rupees per kg. So don't you think the Monica will entice to produce the product which is giving you 100 rupees per kg more benefit? That is what happened. So when any producers see that there is more prices into the market, they start producing more. They start selling the product more, and it is a process. And say if the demand is this and supply is this, the producer will produce more. Gradually, the supply will be there and it will be there equal. After some time, the supply may go up. If it go up, again the prices will go down. So it is a mechanism, right, Monica? I hope you understood. Sir, why it is necessary that supply curve goes upward? That is what, Kajal. I hope you got the answer. That is the same answer. Okay, now I'm coming back to the concept once again. Just see. Just see. Just see here. So if the prices are high, the seller will be happy. They will supply more. But the consumer will not be happy. Now, why consumer will be happy? At the lesser price, the seller will not be happy, the consumer will be happy. There is a fight between seller and consumer. Therefore, supply curve is upward sloping and demand curve is always downward sloping. It goes like this. Demand curve goes like this, supply curve goes like this. And that was a shift into the supply curve and the change into the supply curve. Now, next concept we will see here, that is again the elasticity of supply. You remember the manner in which we have studied the elasticity of the price. In the same manner, we will study the elasticity of the supply. There are 5 different types of the elasticity of supply: elastic, perfectly inelastic, relatively inelastic, unitary elastic. Now you can see all these 5 elasticity of supply. But before I tell you what is the meaning of it, let me write down the formula. Elasticity of supply, what should be the formula? Formula is same as that of the formula of the demand, but only one difference, that is percentage change into the quantity. In place of demand, it should be supply. Percentage change into the quantity supplied divided by percentage change into the price at which the quantity is being supplied at a particular time. Right? So say the prices of the ice cream, Vadilal ice cream is 100 rupees per unit. That at price, the market is ready to supply 1000 unit of ice cream into the market. Right? So percentage change in supply with respect to percentage change into the price. Remember, that is the only difference. Everything else is same. Right? Now, based upon this information of this formula, there are 5 types of supply. Let me tell you the example one by one. First, what do you see? Elasticity of supply is greater than 1. It is known as the relatively supply elastic product. Relatively elastic supply. Case number 1, relatively elastic supply, when supply is greater than 1. So when it will be greater than 1? Very common sense. If the price increase into the market by say 5%, 5% is the increase into the price of certain product into the market, and the companies are supplying more than 5% of the product. See, so what will be the value? When 10 divided by 2, you will get 2. 2 is greater than 1. That means elasticity is more than 1. So it is relative supply. The case 1, I'm telling you the case 1. What does it mean? It means that it is a kind of product that its price increases slightly. There are multiple manufacturers, those who have ability to increase the supply instantly or in shorter time duration. So that means they are the product which require less expertise into the production. Maybe they are not the agricultural product, because agricultural product cannot be increases overnight. Perishable product growth cannot be increases overnight. But they are some kind of a product which can be produced instantly in a faster manner. So therefore, even in the short run, the supply can be increased. If there is a 5% increase, the people can produce more. Maybe the fan, the cooler, the electric bulb, you can take the example of such kind of. Secondly, you see this, and the second thing is the same phenomenon, just it is a nomenclature difference. This is the elasticity is unitary. So that means change in supply, quantity supply is equal to change in price. Change in quantity supply is equal to the change in price. So that means both these things, numerator and denominator, are equal. Say 5% increase in supply is equal to 5% increase into the prices. So when I say it like this, so I can write like this: 5% increase in supply because there was 5% increase into the price. Unitary. Third case is the case where supply is less elastic, less than 1. Third case is the case where the supply elasticity is less than 1. So when it will be less than 1, or I should say the inelastic supply, when the change in prices are more, but the companies are not able to increase in demand. Like right now, if you can see what is happening into the world, the change into the prices of the petrol is very high, gas is very high, then the world is not able to supply it properly. Similarly, the manufacturing companies are not able to supply. Similarly, chip, you can say the prices of the chip are very high. The companies are ready to pay the higher prices, but the suppliers are not in a condition of making that. Many infrastructural requirement related to the AI industry, that is hardware requirement of the AI industry. One of the requirement is coolant also. So the companies are not able to supply the coolant as per the demand into the market, because the people have invested the money into the artificial intelligence companies, but they haven't invested the money into the supply chain companies, the other companies which are producing raw material which is utilized into the AI companies. So what do you observe? That even if there is 5% increase into the price, 10% increase into the price, say for example, I will take the example 5% increase into the price, but there is just 1% increase into the supply. So here you can see 0.2 is the value coming out. So supply is less than 1. When it is less than 1, it is elastic supply, case number 3. These two examples, the last two examples, are hypothetical in nature. They are not currently observed in the world, but sometimes yes, you can see. So I'll try to correlate. Here you can see supply is 0. Supply elasticity is 0. That means there is some change into the price, but okay, the quantity is fixed. Like milk product, perishable item. No, in overnight you cannot increase the supply of the milk product. right? Say for example, in a city, there are 100 cows and 100 cows produces say 100 kg of the milk. That is the maximum they produce. But someday some function is there in that particular city. Therefore, the milk requirement is 200 kg. But the supply is fixed. So even if you increase the price, the supply cannot be changed. It is fixed, right? So that is the reason why you see this thing. Elasticity of supply is zero in this case. Absolutely inelastic product. That is, the supply is fixed. Even if you change the price, if you increase the price or decrease the price, but the supply is, you can see at the D point, it is fixed. It cannot be increased beyond that. On the other hand, other way around, that even if the prices are stagnant, there is no movement into the price. Prices are fixed at a point A, but the supply is increasing or decreasing. Again, absolutely elastic supply or perfectly elastic supply, which is again commonly not seen or not observed. So you can see first, second, third are observed and practical phenomenon. The third is rarely observed. So what we have learned so far, my dear friend, we have learned what is supply curve. Supply increases, the seller are motivated to send more product into the, it is all about motivation. They will be motivated to send more product because they will be getting more benefits, more profits, right? So the supply price increases, the supply will increase, right? Because, okay, I'll again give you one example. Say, if somebody is working in a certain industry and continuously the price of that industry product are increasing, it will entice other, it will attract other, that okay, this industry is profitable industry, the prices are increasing continuously, that means the people are heavily demanding this product, so why can't we produce it? So the more and more new player will come, or even the existing player will start producing more, and this will keep on going until and unless there is the equality of the price and supply, demand and supply. That is known as the equilibrium. I'll tell you after some times what is equilibrium. Okay, determinant, yeah, I'll take you later on. First, now I will tell you the equilibrium. Now all of you were asking the equilibrium. Okay, when we talk about the equilibrium, I will tell you general meaning of the equilibrium first, and then market equilibrium second. Okay, what is the meaning of equilibrium generally? If I ask you, you will write down, sir, equilibrium means it's a balance, right? It is like weighing machine. It's a balance. So I am at equilibrium in my life. My life is balanced. My work life is at equilibrium, right? I can manage my work and I can manage my life. So my life is, so balance in every place is known as the equilibrium. But when I attach a word in front of it, if I put a prefix in front of the equilibrium, that is market, that becomes the market equilibrium. What does it mean? It has a very simple meaning. Just see this diagram. Just see this diagram now. I'll tell you the market equilibrium. So on the y-axis, there is the price. On the x-axis, there is the quantity, right? Now, on the history of a certain product, say ice cream, the supply curve goes like this. This is how based upon the historical data, the people are supplying ice cream in a certain market at a certain price, at the various prices. Say the market is Jaipur market. So in the Jaipur, this is the supply of ice cream during the month of May. This is the supply curve of the ice cream during the month of May, right? So at the different prices, the different quantity of the ice cream is being supplied. But my dear friend, there can be certain other thought of the demand of the product. Supply is a motivational factor for the seller. Higher the price, higher will be the supply. But consumers' mindset work opposite. Lower the price, I will purchase more. And as a consumer, I will think like that. So lower the price, I will purchase more. That means the demand curve will go downward. Always it will go downward. So this is the demand curve. Again, this is the demand curve of the ice cream in the month of May into the Jaipur city. Now see the phenomenon carefully. If I assume that this is the price, say 50 rupees is the price. If I assume, just to let you understand, I am making it. If I assume, so what do you see? If I assume that 50 will be the price, what I observe at a higher price, the seller are willing to supply more. Willing, I'm using a word willing. They may not be supplying. They are willing to supply more. That means they want, if 50 rupees per piece ice cream will be there, I will supply more because I will earn more, right? On the other hand, the consumer, what is the status of the consumer? This is the status of the seller. Say B point is the status of the seller and A point is the status of the consumer. Consumer is not ready to purchase. They say, okay, 50 rupees per piece of ice cream is too costly. I cannot afford, or most of the people cannot afford it. So they said, okay, I will purchase only Q1 quantity. However, seller can sell up to Q2 quantity at the 50 rupees prices. They are motivated, but consumers don't want. So there's a gap. There's a gap between the demand and supply. This is the gap. So nobody is happy. Seller is not happy. Consumer is not happy. Similarly, if I take these 2 points, if I take these 2 points, similarly, if I see these 2 points, if I join them, now here the supplier is supplying less Q1 quantity. This is the supply curve. See, this is the supply curve S1. I'll change the marker so that you can understand. This is the supply curve, right? So you can see, what do you see at the supply curve? The supplier is supplying less. Why are they supplying less? Because they are getting lesser price. They are getting lesser price. Say price 10 rupees. So at 10 rupees, they are not motivated because they are not able to bear even their manufacturing cost. So we will not supply 10 rupees. However, when the 10 rupees prices are there, the customer will be happy. They are ready to purchase more. Okay, 10 rupees per piece of the ice cream, we will purchase more. So here, what do you see? Surplus of the demand, huge demand, and shortage of the supply. On the other hand, at the top side, you see opposite thing. Top side, you see what? Top side, you see that there is the huge supply or potential of supply, but there is less demand. So surplus of the demand. So nobody is happy on A, B, and below point and the top point. So what will happen? This phenomenon will keep on going and ongoing and ongoing till they reach at a particular point here. This is the point of intersection. This is the point of intersection, and we call it at point. What is happening at this point? What is happening at this point? Tell me what is happening at this point. At this point, the quantity demanded by the consumer, the quantity demanded by the consumer, what is happening at this point? At this point, highlighted as a yellow, what is happening? The quantity demanded by the consumer is equal to the quantity supplied by the seller. So both of them are happy. They are ready. This is the best point for them. Okay, seller is happy, consumer is happy. So seller is saying, okay, 30 rupees per piece of the ice cream is okay. It is good for me. I will earn the profit. Consumer says, okay, we will purchase this much quantity of the ice cream at this price. Okay, we are also happy. We are also happy. So this is known as a market equilibrium. If even one point, somebody asked you in one line, what is market equilibrium? The market equilibrium is the point at which the quantity demanded into the market by the consumer is equal to the quantity supplied of the product by the producer is equal, is same, is known as the market equilibrium. I hope you understood it. I hope you understood it. I'm going back quickly. I hope you understood market equilibrium. Any doubt? Is there any question related to market equilibrium? Okay, somebody has asked a question. What is the effect of production government regulation of change in every year? So will it affect the supply? Definitely. Our government rules and regulation definitely put an impact onto the supply always. I gave you the example also. It is there into the recorded lecture. You can see it. Right. I would like to see more questions. Are you satisfied? Have you understood? Many of the students have asked what is market equilibrium. If you are satisfied, write down yes into the chat box. If you are satisfied and understood the market equilibrium, please write down into the chat box. Yes, market. Very good, Dikshant. At the market equilibrium, quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So many of them are citing yes. Okay, so I'm satisfied now. Okay, I'm satisfied. Now, Fender is asking me to tell the elasticity of the supply formula once again. Okay, I'll tell you once again. No, sir. Disha, Prachi, price is not constant always, beta. Price changes with the supply is not constant. Supply changes with the price. Now, Venkatesh is asking too many questions. Number one, sir, could you clarify if the firm improves its technology, why does result increases into the supply lead to the lower equilibrium to the price? Dekhiye, this is something you are asking, which is not see what happens when there is improvement into the technology. Always there is increase into the supply. But my dear friend, I'm teaching you economics one subject. The price phenomenon, supply and demand depend upon the multiple correlated phenomena. They are working simultaneously at a time. I'm telling you one of the concept, right? So whenever technology increases, it becomes better. The supply of the product, there is a chance that the supply of the product will increase. Yes, absolutely correct, Kunal Singh. It was into the class 11th. As per the law of demand, if the price increases, demand falls, then why will the producer produce more? My dear friend, as per the law of demand, that is what I'm trying to tell you. It is not a one-day activity, Sandeep. If the price increases, the consumer don't want higher prices. It is all about motivation. So if the price increases, the producer will be able to supply more. Consumer may not be wanting that particular product at that higher prices. But imagine, Sandeep, if it is a necessity product, if it is petrol, what will you do? You will purchase. Therefore, we have learned elasticity of supply also concept. So many concepts work at a time. So it is a phenomenon. Therefore, I told you that phenomenon with the help of the diagram, right? Therefore, I told you that how equilibrium comes. See this diagram again. If all of you see this diagram, at this particular point, at the higher side, at the top side, what do you see? You see that there is low demand and higher supply. So there is no meeting point. There was no trade. There was no business, right? There was no business at this point. Similarly, at below, if you see, there was lesser supply and people were demanding more at the low price. So again, there was no business. Nobody was happy. So people were happy at this point. Therefore, we call it equilibrium point. So at both the point, the people were not happy, but they are happy at this point, at this central point, where the demand equal to supply, right? So what is equilibrium? When demand is equal to supply, it is known as the equilibrium. Now, let's see movement of the curve. Now you will understand even more in a better way by looking into the movement into the various types of curve. You will understand in a better way. What do you see? Which curve is this? I put a tick in front of the D. D is the demand curve. Who runs the demand curve? It is consumer motivation which moves the demand curve. So this demand curve is fixed. However, there is change in price, but it is fixed. The other factors they are not considering, right? So you can see it is a downward demand curve. And here you see the supply curve, the initial supply curve, the first supply curve, initial supply curve, right? And what do you see? Initially, this demand curve and this supply curve is meeting at a particular point. And where is that particular point? They are meeting at this point. That means this point is the initial equilibrium point, where the demand of a certain product is equal to the supply. And at this initial equilibrium, people were happy to pay P rupees price. Seller was also happy to receive P price. And people were happy to receive Q quantity. Seller was also happy to supply the Q quantity. Due to certain reason, maybe increase in the technology is there. Just assume the supply curve shift to the right side. However, there was no change into the demand. Venkatesh, you asked this question. Your answer is there. Demand is still there. Demand curve is still same. Right? However, there is contraction and expansion into the demand curve, but it has not shifted, right? So demand curve is same. That means price related phenomena are same onto the demand curve. But there is increment into the manufacturing technology. So the supply has increases. Therefore, when the supply has increases, the supply curve has shifted from S to S2, right? So now what do you see? The supply curve has reached here. The new equilibrium is this point. So this point is the new equilibrium. It is the new equilibrium, this point. I will call it E2. E2 is the new equilibrium now. Why? What has happened, Venkatesh? Because more product was supplied into the market. The company has been able to supply more product. When there will be more supply, automatically there will be the, now I hope you will be understanding. When there will be the more supply, the prices will reduce. This is how the market works. The prices will reduce. But how the company will earn now? The company will earn by selling more to the consumer, right? So prices will decrease. However, the sales has increased from Q to Q1. So the sales has increased from this point to this point, but the prices has decreased, right? So equilibrium has shifted downside. Now just imagine opposite of this. Opposite of this can be that due to some reason, say if the supply reduces, due to some reason, the supply reduces. Why? Because of natural calamities there, because of transportation strike, because of any reason, government policy, the supply has shifted. Supply has shifted means there is a shrinkage into the supply, lesser supply. So when there is a lesser supply, the new equilibrium has reached to this side, this point. So this equilibrium is now even. So when there is a lesser supply, there is a product shortage, like petroleum products right now, like gas, diesel right now, because of war, a calamity, the supply has shifted to the left-hand side. And when this happens, but the demand is same. The entire world is demanding the same amount of the gas, same amount of the petrol. So obviously you will see an increase into the price of the gas and petrol, which has taken place recently. Now the government is also thinking of increase the price of the gas, domestic gas by 40 rupees, commercial gas price, they have already increased. I hope you are getting it now. There are few more such diagrams for you. Right. So what is my point? My point is to tell you that what happens if the supply changes and demand curve is stable. Now what do you see in the next diagram? Just opposite. Just opposite. What I am doing now, this is the supply curve. Now this is not shifting. This is not shifting. However, the demand curve is the initial demand curve. This will shift now. So this is the original equilibrium, E1. I should say E. This is the original equilibrium. Everything is good. Everybody is happy. But due to certain reasons, say take an example. This is the supply of malaria drug into the market during the rainy season. During the rainy season, the demand of the malaria drug increases. The demand has increased because it is rainy season. Suddenly there is an outburst of the malaria into the market, into the world, right? So suddenly the demand has increased. So if it has happened into the short term, Venkatesh, you asked question about short term also. If it has happened in short term, say 1 month, 2 months, so companies cannot overproduce in overnight or even in 15 days, 1 month, 2 months. They have to establish few more factories, right? It's like COVID time, what has happened? Suddenly the Covishield company was not able to produce it, right? So you see, what will happen if the demand increases? Automatically, the price will go up. The prices has go up onto this equilibrium E2. The prices has gone up, E1, sorry, right? And at the higher prices, however, the company also have tried to supply more. Dekhiye, this is your answer, Venkatesh. The demand has increased of malaria and malaria drug because of the rainy season. Malaria drug is a necessity product. People cannot live without it. The company also understand their responsibility. They started pushing themselves, they started producing it more, but simultaneously while producing it more with the less resources, they have to increase the prices of the product from the market. They also take the advantage of this calamity. Both things are working. So the company, on the one hand, they are fulfilling their responsibility, they are trying to increase the more supply, but they are not doing the business for philanthropy. They will also increase the price, right? Therefore, they are into the business. However, if they want, they cannot increase the price. They will not increase the price, but this happens usually, right? So what do you see? There's an increase into the price, there was increase into the demand, and also simultaneously some quantity has increased. Now just the other way around. Now it is a healthy season. Beautiful winter season is there, and the climate is fixed, and there is no case of malaria. So demand curve of the quinine, which is a medicine used to treat malaria, the demand has gone down, E2. The equilibrium has come down. So demand has gone down. That means both things has gone down. Both things has gone down. The demand has gone down from Q to Q1. Say it has reduced. And of course, when there is no demand, right? Why I would supply? So I will try to give the rebate to the customers. When people don't want my product, what I'll do? See, when there is no sales of the clothes into the market, what salesperson do? They give discount. That is what we have studied into the last class. Because elasticity is very high. Okay, let's give them discount. Let's reduce the price. At least some sale will be there. To protect their basic sale, they do it. So this is how the curve works. A shift when there is a single supply curve and there are few changes into the demand curve. Similarly, now you see the third case. Now what do you see, my dear friend? Both curves are changing. Demand is also changing and supply is changing. So let's see the initial supply, the first supply curve. This is the initial supply curve. Point of equilibrium is perfect. This is the E point of equilibrium. Everything is good. But due to certain reason, the demand of this product has increased from D to D1. Similarly, the supply of this product has also increased. So both have increased into the same proportion. The demand has increased. Okay, sellers are also happy. They are also going to supply more product into the market. Both has happened at the same time. So sellers are not burdened to put more resources into the market, which is increasing their cost of production. Rather, they are also happy in supplying more product and earning by selling more product in volumes, right? So there is no change into the price because there is equal increase into the demand and equal increase into the supply. So there is no change into the prices. Prices will remain fixed. What would have happened? What would have happened if the demand has increased more and they are not able to increase the supply in the same proportion? Then they would have increased the price. Remember this thing. So my dear friend, it is not a rocket science that one thing is happening, the another thing will happen into the exact manner. There are ifs and buts. Now you can see the next diagram. In this diagram, what do you see? The initial equilibrium is this one. Everybody is happy and the demand has gone down. The demand has gone down, the people are not purchasing your product. The supply automatically will go down. When people will not purchase, why will you produce? The supply will also go down, and therefore there will be the new equilibrium. At this equilibrium, the prices are also less and the quantity supplied is also less. This is one more case. So there are multiple cases, Venkatesh. There are multiple cases. There are not one or two odd cases which is responsible for the change into the demand. Right now, the last concept I'll tell you of today's lecture, and which is very important, consumer surplus and producer surplus. Then I will open the question forum for you. And don't worry, my dear friends, if I'm not able to take all the questions today because of paucity of time, perhaps there are two discussion boards. We will take the questions there. Now, the next concept is consumer surplus, PS, plus producer surplus, PS. You can understand now by the meaning of surplus. What is the surplus? It has a very simple meaning. It has a meaning that I have more. Simple meaning. So as a consumer, I have more scope. As a producer, I have more scope. Consumers are different, producers are different, but both of them are a part of the society, same society. So as a producer is saying I have more scope. Consumer is also saying I have more scope. However, these are the two different phenomena, but they work simultaneously. So one is known as the consumer surplus when consumer says I have more. The another is producer surplus when producer say I have more. Let's see it through a very simple diagram. This is a diagram which I'm making, my dear friends, to understand you, to let you understand that what is producer surplus and what is consumer surplus. Just see here, price and quantity. First, I will show you the consumer surplus. What is this curve known as? Write down into the chat box. Is it demand curve? Can I say this curve a demand curve? Yes, I can say this curve a demand curve. It is downward sloping. Price are dropping. The quantity is increasing. I will say it a demand curve. Now, who is responsible for the demand curve? It is consumer. Therefore, first I will tell you the meaning of the consumer surplus. Any doubt? Any doubt? No doubt? Okay. Then I will tell you the meaning of the producer surplus. So this is the demand curve. You understand? If I draw this curve on the same diagram, what do I call it? Can I call it supply curve? Can I call it supply curve? The answer is yes, I can call it supply curve. Then I will ask, sir, why you call it supply curve? Because prices are increasing. The seller is motivated to supply more product into the market. Therefore, it is supply curve. And the demand and supply are meeting at this particular point. So I call this point as an equilibrium. Equilibrium. Why I call it market equilibrium? I call it market equilibrium because at this point, the quantity demanded in the market by the consumer, of course, consumer demand the quantity is always equal to quantity supplied by the producer. Therefore, I call it an equilibrium point. Very simple. Okay, first class, everything is good. Now I am doing something to tell you what is the meaning of consumer surplus and producer surplus. Okay, I'll ask few questions from you. My dear friend, what is the maximum price a consumer can pay? This is the maximum price a consumer can pay. Why? At this price, however, if you go down, see my cursor, if I go down, nobody is purchasing the product. Zero product purchase is there. If I increase the line, this is a zero product purchase. So this is the maximum price. At this price, no one is purchasing the product. However, there are few consumers into the market at this price. Are they purchasing the product? Yes, at this price, there are few consumers at least because few value is there, some demand is there. So there are few consumers, those who are purchasing the product. Okay, if I drop the price further, there are again certain consumers, those who can purchase the product. If I drop the price further, there are certain consumers. What does it mean? It means even if the prices are higher than usually it should be, there are certain consumers. Oh, one second. Even if the prices are higher, there will be some consumers into the market. Hai na? That is the meaning. That is the meaning. I will draw it. By mistake, it was deleted. Right? So understand. And this is the equilibrium price. This is the equilibrium price. At this price, both are happy, consumer and seller. So I call it PE. At this equilibrium price, everybody is happy. And I call it at this price, this much of the quantity supplied into the market. That means market is also happy. Everybody is satisfied. Seller and consumer. So if there are 10 consumers and if there is 2 sellers, both of them are happy. The seller are getting their price and consumers are getting the product at the price. Optimum supply is there. But there is a thing. There is a thing. This shaded portion. This shaded portion. This is what? What is this? What is this? This is extra money into the pocket of the seller or consumer. It is the extra money into the pocket of the consumer. Okay. Consumer is paying this price, though he can pay up to this price also. There are few consumers up to this price. Even if I put the price here, there are few consumers. They can pay this price. They can pay this price. That means this much amount of the money, this area of entire triangle, P, not P, E, and E. This area of entire triangle, shaded triangle, is known as the consumer surplus. This is the extra money into their pocket. And as a seller, my eyes is on that, or it should be on that extra money. That how I can increase the price without disturbing the demand too much. On the other hand, opposite thing. On the other hand, you see one more concept and one more thing. What do you see here? Highlighter color doesn't change. What do you see here? Here. Okay. Here again, very interesting thing is happening. What we see that, okay, seller is selling at this particular price, P naught. But even if the price is this much low, this much low. There are some seller, because if I increase this line, it will come here. There are certain seller, this is a supply curve, remember, this is a supply curve. On this supply curve, there are certain seller which are ready to supply. They are not supplying. They're not supplying because they are not getting the profit, right? So this is the extra surplus into the pocket of the producer, known as the producer surplus. Now, on this producer surplus, consumer eyes is there. Consumer always want that the producer should sell the product at the minimum price, and seller always want that the I should sell at the maximum price. So there is a fight, and this is known as the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. So consumer surplus is based on the economic theory of marginal utility, which says that there is always an extra money in the pocket of the consumer, right? What do you see here? What do you see here? See here, consumer surplus. What we are willing to pay minus what we actually pay. So actually, you are paying PE, equilibrium price, but you can pay more. Similarly, what you are actually charging and what maximum you can charge, what minimum you can charge as a producer is known as a producer surplus, right? So I hope till this point topics are clear to you. And let me take few questions into the chat box. If there are too many into the chat box, I won't be able to take it right now, but I promise you that I will take the question when there will be the main class, then there will be the discussion board. So is there any doubt, my dear friends? Is there any doubt? Okay. Yeah, kindly provide the feedback form to the learners. Bhante sir? No, see, if you are not able to attend the discussion board, Harpreet, you can ask the question right here also. But these classes are meant for the finishing of the lecture. And this lecture will be recorded and uploaded. You can later on refer it. Okay. So I hope you understood. If you understood, write down yes into the chat box. No, Pratiksha, it is not like that. If the demand is high, then the supply will be less. It is not like that. Sometimes when the demand is high, and it is society, human being produce the product. It is not something which is produced by machine. So say if the demand of the ice cream is high, as a seller, as a producer of the ice cream, I will try to maintain that supply to the market because I also want to earn profit. Earning profit is a two-way, by increasing the price and by selling more. So I want to also earn the profit. So if the demand is high, then I will try to increase the supply as a supplier, as a producer. There may be some reason that I am not able to do it. So there is a supply short. But as a consumer, as a seller, I would like to supply it. Okay, so let's meet into the discussion board. And so let's conclude this lecture, what we have learned today. We have learned many things in today's lecture. We understood what is supply. We understood what is the law of supply. Law of supply states that if the prices are higher, the seller is willing to supply more product into the market. We have understood the movement of the supply curve and the demand curve when there is an intersection between the supply curve and the demand curve. That is known as the market equilibrium. Means supply, quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. However, when there is a multiple probabilities of moving of the curve, different kind of relationship we have observed. We have also learned the consumer surplus and the producer surplus in the class. Consumer surplus means the extra amount of the money which is there into the pocket of the consumer, which they can pay, which they are not paying. And producers are always having eye on that. They want to take that amount of money because they want to earn more. And on the other hand, producer surplus is the minimum price at which the producer can sell, but they are not selling. They are selling at the higher prices, right? So there is an extra surplus into the pocket of the producer, which the consumer is eyeing on, right? That is known as a producer surplus. So with this, I can say my lecture is over. Moderator sir, are you there? Hello sir, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, give the feedback form and let's call it a day.
So, okay. So already feedback forms.
Okay, sir. So let's call it a day, sir. हो गया.